Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio this evening. I'm back to doing some more on this Leopard. Yeah, I've been kind of studying this Leopard. Every time I walked in the room. And I'm kind of wondering, because I kind of like this dark area here. And I'm kind of wondering whether to reshade this a little bit so that we've got light coming this way, because this looks really nicely to be in shade. So I've been thinking about that, and I was thinking I might do that, but I've got a little bit of area down here just to sort of finish before I need to make that decision. So I'm going to just carry on with that little area and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to assume that I am, so this curve basically is just going to continue. I need to bring this up a little bit more on this side. She-Devil, good evening. Thank you very much. I'm guessing if you're normally this close to it, that's precisely the reaction you get. Right, being breathless, yes. Welcome, I haven't seen you around for a while. How are you doing? I'm thinking about at the moment the shading, just as the way it turned out, the shading on this is bright. I'm thinking of brightening this side up so it looks like you're getting a light across here, which will leave this almost black, this sort of area here. I'm not too bad. I'm a bit tired today actually, although the stream will wake me up. I was kind of drifting off to sleep just before the start of the stream. I was watching some YouTube videos and at least one of them, I didn't see all of it. But it is a little bit warm here. But I've had a sort of an interesting day. It's been useful-ish. Yeah, it's been a good day. Aldel H, so do I, to be honest. Welcome, good evening. So how's the quilting going, DC Devil? I might be doing some stitch work on stream soon. I have to pick my words a bit carefully there. Right, what I want to do is, I've got some of these black here, I just want to go even finer in terms of not detail. What I'm trying to say is darker. It's going. I kind of know that feeling, to be honest. It's going. A couple of other things outside of streaming that I do where it's going. Even though I have been doing quite a bit of it. This thing, you don't have to get blunt. Ah, yeah. I kind of wonder what I've got I must do it at one point. I've got Google. This is a Google Chromecast. I kind of keep meaning to connect that up to the television, but I'm never where the television is. But I kind of, so same with this, I kind of wonder what it would look like on a 50+ inch TV. Yeah, well, I don't have. I could. Can I use HDMI? I don't actually have HDMI output on the cards. I suppose I can use DVI to HDMI, but I think I've got HDMI. I know I've got a display port, but I don't have laptop. But there again, I'm streaming, so I can't watch it. I'd have to watch a VOD. I'm not sure I want to watch myself back. So I'm just putting this lower. This pulley isn't showing up on stream because it's going to be relatively dark. I can see it here in real life. Obviously something to do with the resolution. But I, you know, it would have been a bit of a sharp transition. I needed a little bit of shading on the bottom edge here. So really it's just a case of spacing out the scratches. Still trying to do it in fur angle. Turkey, hey, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. Okay, well I've added a little bit down there. You can just about see it really dimly on the picture, on the stream, but that's good. That's kind of what I was after. And that doesn't look too bad. So, right. I think why does that show up? That doesn't show up. That's a dirty mark on my monitor. Yeah, that's a dirty mark. Sorry about that. I'm trying to work out why I saw a grey area around here, and it's a dirty mark on the monitor. 80 Fall Guy, good evening, and welcome to the studio this evening. So, I will have to get the alcohol out and give this, well, give all the monitors a clean, to be honest. But I'm doing subtle shading. Probably a good idea to clean the monitors first. Now then, originally, well, it turned out accidentally this area got lighter than the rest. And originally I was going to do sort of lighting when I saw that lighting in this direction, but last night I finished this, sort of did an area here but didn't actually get round to finishing the whole leg. And every time I've been coming in and out of the room all day today, I've been looking at this, and it's kind of as though it's in real deep dark shadow, which of course the whole, I think it's kind of like nighttime almost. And it's very much like that's just so deep in shadow that you can't see it. And so I've been contemplating changing the lighting direction, either sort of that way or more straight down perhaps, because this is really nicely dark and nicely shaded dark just around here. This is a bit brighter already, so I wouldn't lose this dark area because this sort of matches it as really quite strong shadow. So I am really contemplating sort of lightening this half and leaving that really dark. Looks like a very long neck. Well, you're into it's the paws really. It's the two front paws and the chest. Aldal H rather than a long neck, and effectively the shoulders are actually back here, behind the head, and sort of this is the widest part of the shoulders, just about there. So I can't really put any shoulders in as such. I think I've probably done the face a little bit too wide already, or the sides of the face, and trying to put shoulders or more shoulders in would really sort of make it a little bit too fat. And this pose in front of that one, as he's sort of walking forward, which kind of also explains why this leg would turn out to be brighter. So I've almost accidentally matched the right shading. Not doing too bad, 80 Fall Guy. It's been a busy day, and some useful stuff coming out of it, of the day. Moving forward on quite a few projects, which is kind of fantastic. But it's also been a bit of a tiring day. Just before the stream, I was drowsing. To say that's about the closest or the kindest. Falling asleep might be more accurate, but yeah, thanks Aldal H. Probably means I need to telegraph a little bit, and maybe that's where the shading will come in. I know this bottom area of the leg here is a little bit, the transition's not good, and I think I probably need a little bit more shape, or a little bit more just down here. Possibly make sure I get this same shape in here as well, up to about here, so I get that curve in, which is sort of the top of the arm, if you like, where it goes into the chest and it bends as they move the leg forward. So that's what I've been sort of thinking about on and off all day, looking at this, and because it was like when I'd just done the eyes and the nose right at the start, there was a strong temptation at that point to just stop at that point, because they were just coming out of the darkness at you, but I kind of wanted to do a bit more. And now when I've seen this, I'm doing the same thing. I think that looks, it's an accident, Bob Ross moment, but it looks quite good, and I think I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm also a bit warm in here in the studio. Was it nearly 26 degrees? Because I've been out most of the day and I had a chance to open the windows, so it's quite warm in here, and that makes me drowsy as well. I'd have a cup of coffee, but it makes me sleepy. And at this time of night it tastes like dishwater for some reason. So let's lighten up this leg a little bit. Let me fix this transition here. Yeah, no, it's sort of working. Now, one thing about this is, I have, with a lot of careful looking, the fur direction is not quite accurate on this side. From a distance you don't see it quite so much, but it's actually inaccurate. But it should be more curved rather than that. It's right on the outside, but the inner leg here should be more curved. And I'm not going to be able to do much about that because I don't want it really bright. But something for me to learn for next time. Again, it's paint what you see, not what you think, and I didn't look closely enough, so this is kind of what I thought it looked like, not what it actually looks like. I just need to fade this transition out a little bit more. It's as I mentioned, it was rather abrupt. It still is. Got, you know, obviously got to work that down. Even if I've got a light source coming in, it still will be quite dark. I'm expecting the head to shadow some of it, which is obviously what's occurring here. The head is shadowing it, so. Captain Derby, hello and welcome, good evening. Now the hard bit here is going to be not to go overboard. It's the shade changes are very subtle, and quite literally, sort of just one or two scratches can make a great deal of difference. Light coming that way. I am going to get a lighter edge on this leg here, but I do need to extend this out a little bit here. Should be enough. Yeah, it should be enough. We'll see how that goes. Cagliati, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. Nice, everybody's here tonight. It's Tuesday. What's up? Is there nothing else on television tonight? Everybody else, all the other streamers gone away. Oh, teasing you all slightly. It's nice to see you all back again. It's just kind of weird how on Twitch, when you look at statistics, your channel statistics, if you broadcast, it's a human brain sees patterns, but there seems to be a cyclic pattern of viewers, and yet it's not. Well, it might be. It looks like a regular pattern, but it's not every 7 days, and it's going to be interesting over some of my earlier broadcasts, shall we say. There's not enough people to be statistically significant, but as we get a few more people, I'm going to have to see if I can see what this cycle is. There never really is anything on telly. You're right there, Captain Derby. You're right there. I don't watch. No, that's misleading. I do watch television. I watch Doctor Who. But that's about the only television I have actually watched, unless I've just been making food when my wife's got it on or something like that. But I haven't watched television for, must be over a year now. So it's that's partly actually, again, that's slightly misleading, because it's not that there isn't actually anything to watch, it's that I'm either doing something else like this now, or I'm watching Twitch. I used to spend a lot of time watching factual programs, entertainment factual programs, shall we say, like custom on one of the channels. Customs people, they're full of customs people around, like in Australia or the States or the UK, so you see them doing their job. The police, and a few other people. That sort of program I'd watch quite a lot of, and there's still a lot of that around, so I'd watch that if I was watching television. But there's just so many interesting things to watch, either on Twitch, creative for example, or even on YouTube, some of the craft stuff. And it's amazing what you can discover craft wise on YouTube. That's just fascinating to watch. I was looking at the other day, looking at macrame, I think, the other day. I can't remember. There's just so many fascinating stuff. I think I've just about watched all the pyrography videos available on YouTube. I can read that two ways, LDLH. You can spend more time on Twitch than on TV. Yeah, well, I could have been on television for 15 minutes. Or I've been on Twitch now for tens of hours. But I know what you meant. You meant something else. But yeah, I agree with you. What's a TV? It's that thing that you project your computer screen onto. Free. Good evening and welcome. That's doing well. I was about to say, LLH, no personal comments. I knew you spelt it wrong, don't worry. But yeah, you watch almost what you want. I mean, I watch YouTube wise. One of the channels I watch is Direwolf20 on the Minecraft, but he's recently started doing started a series of space engineers, and actually I'm quite addicted to that, and I kind of want the next one. Actually, talking of which, Free, are you streaming tonight, Free? I've kind of got, watching you last night, I kind of got into that story. I want to know what happens next. You know, there's some odd story around the main character, and you're just getting an inkling of what's going on there, but not. It's intriguing still. Yeah, well, what did I think the first time I watched Direwolf was when he did that series of, who was it with? It was a competition, you know, well, a bit like they do the Sky. It was the Skyblock thing. I'm trying to think who it was with now. I think that's when I first watched him, but I think I've seen all his videos now. Okay. Well, if you're playing Portal with Lost, I might have it on. It can be real fun to watch people work out what to do. I was actually quite disappointed when Direwolf stopped. Well, he hasn't continued with the Factorial series, because having watched him, it was I got interested in actually having the game. No, Torrin wasn't around back then. Free. It's I tell you what, level up. It's on Nearby Gamer. Nearby Gamer. Foxy Power, good evening, thank you. That's kind of you to say. They did a Skyblock with Equivalent Exchange. And if you have any interest in Minecraft and you don't know Direwolf or you haven't seen any of his videos, it's quite entertaining to watch. You will learn a lot, but you'll learn a lot in an entertaining way. Oh, I see some more painting in your near future 3D block. That's good, LDLH. Sort of going to go that way a little bit, isn't it? But we've got the curve of the legs, so yeah. Compound curves and lighting. Quite a lot of things, yeah. I could almost do with turning professional doing things like this free as well. Or semi-professional. For a similar sort of reason. Now then, compound curve. So that's going to come that way, around there, down, and curve away anyway because of the lighting and yeah. got to keep curves in this though. I can't really have straight lines. Everything's going to be a curve in the shading. Wow. Well, yeah, it's, I was about to say wow, but and I did say wow, but it's kind of not surprising. Yeah, HDMI carries the sound. Mind you, your sound should have redirected when you did that, but shot of a grenade. It soon adds up. I mean, these days, you know, an i7. Well, I won't say top end, but you know, 4 gigahertz i7 is something like about 500 quid, and whenever you have you get the processor, you get it out of its box, and you're holding to like a you know, 2, 3, whatever £100 processor in that small block of silicon, and it's kind of like very carefully put it into the socket. Oh, you have headphones connected, and it still lost sound. Okay. It's a PC. Yeah, that's kind of what I did when I built mine. For you basically go max everything that you reasonably can. So I didn't on the processor on this one though, and I went for 2.4, but then I did overclock it to 4, and then backed it down. But well, I'm glad you can hear me now, Aldel H. Oh, I see. Makes sense. Alright, lighting. So I'm not sure about that, but we've got a better fade now, which is kind of what I was after initially. We've got to look at what's around here. Shoulder area. Let's bring the face up a little bit. There's always room for upgrades, free. Always room for upgrades. Let's strengthen this a little bit. I am strongly thinking about here applying, well, going against the laws of physics basically. And I'm just wondering how much I can do that, because the lighting directions are wrong for this to be in real shadow like this, but I kind of like the structure. And I'm just wondering just how much I have to change the lighting on this side. And this, you know, this is a Icaros. Thank you very much for following. That's kind of you. I'm kind of thinking how much to sort of go, you know what, I just like it anyway, even though it's not technically accurate. Whether you call it artistic license or you call it something else, but that's kind of what I'm just thinking about here. So let me get this tip to be sharp again. Fluffy Twiggler, good evening and welcome to the studio. Yes. Now that means I need to make this a little bit more. So lots of subtle changes really. Small changes in brightness now just to highlight different planes of the face. Like this of course is more upper cheekbone. Just just around this area, but we still have sort of a fall off of light around the cheekbone onto the sort of the side cheeks. I could do with trying to get a little bit of a shadow just in under there as well, because they're quite hollow cheeked on the leopard, so you get that characteristic sort of muzzle shape, which you can sort of see on this side here, just on that edge. Haven't quite got it on this side, that same, although again possibly with the lighting it possibly wouldn't, so decisions. Also have to remember I've actually got some whiskers to put in. They'll be really bright. That will change some of the look. Oh, that's looking a bit better. Stippling like this, I wonder kind of what something like a tattoo machine would do. If you did sort of that stippling with a whole picture, if you like, with it, but using a tattoo machine, because it drives the needle, so you don't have to. Kind of wonder just what sort of art you could do with that. Thank you, Aldel H. I'm just seeking to just generally lighten this area a little bit, and then maybe I haven't got quite the right shading up here anyway. I need to work on that. Now effectively all I'm doing here is just because literally just tapping down, and it's just breaking through the top of the black ink, just enough so that you get a speck of white, and it's a little tiny speck of white. So I'm not scratching at all. In fact, I'm doing my best not to drag it at all. It's got to go straight down, straight up, so all I get is that little tiny pinprick. Can get some really subtle just lighting effects now. Things like you should be able to almost see just that edge there. And you can get some really subtle. And I need to just lose that edge a little bit. So what I'm trying to just get here is sort of how the light will just settle a little bit on certain, obviously the points nearest the light source or directly facing it are going to be slightly brighter than the areas around it. Well, I'm maybe not the right person. I think I've got a 1 kilowatt in mind. But I wanted to make sure I got plenty of overhead. That's the key thing. If you brown out your video card, it'll reset. That's kind of the key one more than anything else. Easiest way to do that sort of calculation for you is just how much power does the video card need, and how much power is the CPU. They're kind of the two. I mean, I know I put a 1K in mine because at one time I was thinking, well, apart from it was a modular power supply, and when I got mine, they tended to be the bigger ones. Modular, for those people that don't know, it means the cables aren't hard attached, they're all plug-in cables, so you just put the cables in that you want, and I could make up my own cables, so I could arrange things as I wanted. But I think on mine I sort of calculated the possibility of having 2 video cards in there and leaving about 20% overhead. So I think a video card back then was about sort of 300 watts, 350, something like that. So when you did that, add 100 watts for the CPU. Mine was coming out at about 700 odd. So I suspect a 650 is probably enough free, but it's really difficult. I'd always be, if you're unsure, I'd always be tempted to go larger. They don't waste too much power, it's just the initial purchase cost. Yeah, it stops. Well, one thing is it stops your power supply being overstressed, and also it runs cooler. Not a great deal, I admit, but it does run cooler. With them being switch mode, you don't have the problem that you used to have with overload, bigger power supplies running hotter. Yeah, that's true. Kind of almost certainly things like that free with that price, funny pricing is. It wouldn't surprise me if the 850 or the 750 was just an 850 with a slightly different programmed switching frequency or something like that. There's probably a difference in transistors or something, switching from one family to another family in that sort of 650, 750, in that between those two, your top end of one set of switching gear, and then you're moving into the bottom end of another set of switching gear. So as you go up through the band, there won't be as much of a difference. But yeah, you don't skimp on you need clean power. If you don't have clean power, you'll spend days fault finding stuff where there's no fault. One other thing maybe to watch out with is power rails, especially I guess on the 5 volt one, is all the 5 volts, usually with the switch modes, they don't, let's say generating 5 volts, they don't have one path from the mains to the 5 volts. They'll have multiple 5 volt regulators, which either feed separate circuits or they all feed into sort of one bus from which all the circuits come out of. And that 5 volts, well, one of the things you've got to watch with that is if they're separate 5-volt rails, for example, it happens with the 12s and the 3 volts as well, 3-volt rail as well, is if they're separate rails, then you do have to be a little bit careful that what you're going to put on one cable isn't going to overload the one rail that it's feeding it, because you might have, it might say, I don't know, 600 watts of 5-volt power. So you think, oh, I can put 600 watts on one cable. I'm being ridiculous here, all 600 watts on one cable. But it might be that if they've got separate rails, then your one cable will only support 150 watts on the one cable, because it's regulator that's feeding it isn't joined to the others. So you might just have to at least be aware of that, so that you don't, for example, string a dozen disk drives all on one cable, because the loads that they put on it will brown out that one supply line. If they're all ganged together, then that's less of a problem. You're just then into how much can a cable carry before it gets too hot. Right, back to working on this. The camera view of this is great to be able to see what it looks like at a distance. i7-4790, wow, yes. And Haswell, that's a nice processor. 240 gig SSD, yeah, that's plenty. I'm surprised these days how big SSDs are getting. You get half terabyte SSDs now for reasonable prices. Motherboard I don't know, but gigabytes are usually good, the Z series. So. Memory I'm not up on. No idea, or power supply for that matter. And that Hydro series, that's a H60. That's a single radiator, a single is that a single radiator, the H60? That's just for the CPU cooling, isn't it, I think? Yeah, you get about 100 watts out of a single radiator. It's probably is that a 120 or a 140 fan? And the 750, yeah. You know, I was reading all that and I hadn't noticed that there was no CPU in there. Yeah, but once you the 2 terabytes are kind of a little bit pricey at the moment. I was surprised by I've got in this rig, I've got 128 gigs as the primary drive. It's an SSD, and I have taken some steps, like the swap is on a hard disk, which slows it down a bit. The cache for the Explorer, you know, the browsers, is on a hard disk rather than on the SSD, and things like the Steam libraries on the hard disk. But I'm kind of surprised at how small a drive you can get away with. The 240 would be nice. The 140 just, well, the difference between the 120 and the 140 doesn't sound a lot, but there's quite a big difference in area, but I don't actually know whether they come in different sizes. If I was making my own water cooling up these days, I'd go for 140 fans rather than 120s, but I like quiet, so a 140 fan I can spin slower than a 120. But when you're buying, you know, pre-made stuff like that, then it's just what it is. Nice lot of kit there, 3D. I'm only slightly jealous. Oh, you found a matte black case. Well done. I am looking forward to whatever goes on that case. It's going to be a bit fun. It's going to be... Well, actually, gaming PC, you don't have that problem. I was about to say it's going to be fun to see you stream spraying the case of the streaming PC, but it's your gaming PC, isn't it? The other one's doing the streaming. So you can get away with it. I just need to bring that down there a little bit. looks too flat to my eyes. Even though it is flat, it's going backwards flat. It's looking flat in the same plane as this picture, so I'm going to have to sort of shade it a little bit so this front disappears, so it's lighter at this side than that side. That will tend to make it look as though it's going in the vertical direction. Black goes back, as they say. Actually, I'll change the shape of some of these spots as well. It'll help. Another Vader, interesting, yeah. Well, job PC. I was thinking, is that a bit too subtle for a case? Oh well, I suppose you do. I was thinking, why was I thinking of a black? Well, it is black, isn't it, Vader on a black case? But you're doing it using white, and I know the white looks black, just to confuse matters, which is why I was thinking of black on black. Ah dear. Now that would be subtle. Black gloss on black matte. Changing the shape of a few of these spots so that you're looking at them more side on. Which will help with the illusion of the angle. The only problem with stuff like that is, you know, black on black is it's got to be light enough to see it. No, there's no good if it's too subtle that you can't actually see the thing. Right, so I was applying a little bit of shading. This is one of the bits I quite enjoy about doing Scraperboard is sort of the start of the final shading, where you get everything, it almost slows down again, and you're making really small tiny scratches and it making large, you know, quite large changes, and you know, you just something like just a few scratches like that, just push out that shading gently, and I really enjoy doing it. That's what it is. That side there is slightly brighter than the middle. Hadn't noticed that before. Rim light. Would it be rim light? No, it wouldn't. Wow, that is subtle free. Indeed, LDLH they are. I mean, I've not sculpted them, and on the cat I kind of cheated, but even sort of two-dimensionally they're hard. That freeze almost like reverse flip paint, isn't it? Flip paint, and if you could get the reverse of the flip paint, I know it doesn't work that way, but you know, spray your thing in reverse, then yeah, that would be interesting. Eyes and hands, yeah, and faces, and then the bodies aren't so, you know. Oh, and don't forget feet, they're not very. I'm actually doing all of this. I am really surprising myself. Just, I mean, I drew this freehand, as you saw at the start. Okay, I was not copying, but drawing from references, and but I kind of just surprise myself every time I do something like this. Just how, it's observation, but just how it's coming out. Oh, I trust you, LH. You know, sculpting anything is just for me. Well, thank you, LDLH. I'm not quite sure I'm that good, but thank you anyway. That's easy for you to say. I can say Scraperboard is easy, but you know, that's a skill, isn't it? Whatever it is, when you have a skill, the skill, you know, makes something that you do look easy, and other people will look at it and go, "How on earth do you manage to do whatever?" It's okay. I think I probably need to. That's better. That would be very welcome, LDLH. Thank you. Yeah, you do it, and then one day you did it. What I've just been doing here is just in the centre here, it's slightly dark compared to the sides. I've just actually removed a little bit about that, and now that side sort of falls off a lot better to my eyes anyway. It doesn't look flat, it now looks to curve away, even though I've still got a little bit brighter on the edge than I'd like, but it now sort of looks more like it curves away. That's just a little bit too abrupt, not quite the right angle. That's better. Yeah, that's better. I like that better. So I've got now a sort of a secondary curve around there, which I quite like, which sort of suits the lighting effect. So we've got it curves as the face curves around. It's kind of an awkward thing to illustrate, but we've got a brighter top light which then falls off. That's kind of the side, and it comes down as we come down the side of the cheeks and start to come towards the jaw. And it's sort of mirrored on this side as well, but not as strongly. You know, we've got this slightly offset lighting effect. So I'm kind of happy with that. Might need a little bit more on the nose, on the front of the muzzle here, but we'll leave that for now. I need to just sort something around here a little bit. On the side of the temple, you know, if you feel on your own, you've got sort of an edge around here where it sort of dishes in on the side of the skull. The cat's here the same. It's in this area is the temple, and it sort of flattens that part of the head. Now, in shading terms, that means that it wants to be a consistent shade across that area. It almost is, but I'm not quite seeing the edge of the edge around there quite as I want it to do at the moment. It might just be adding a bit of shading down in this area. That might be enough to do it. Just seeking at the moment to bring the highlight up onto the head, sort of in a matching-ish sort of area to over here. Because it's almost like a parting here effect, which I'm just trying to sort of highlight the top of the curve again as it comes out over the top. I'm sort of seeking to bring the highlight further down just around this area here, just to give myself a little bit more shape around the back. And potentially lighten it slightly so I can just change the shading inside this temple area a little bit, because it's again brighter at the back. I haven't quite got the shaping right. that's starting to shape up quite nicely. Literally, shape. It does have that vector bit, doesn't it? Ah, dear. Old Hat 128, good evening. Almost 10 PM here, Dishy Devil. Yep, it's 5-minute warning for 8. Yeah, well, at least you'll be able to watch for 2 hours this time, old LH. Yeah, that would worry me a little bit here with having just a single machine, but oh, well done, old LH. I'm still not getting this plane right. Got to do some work on that. I think maybe it's this area here. Oh yes, I wanted to bring some of this ear hair forward as well. Do the same on that side as well. Now, okay, I've now got some light spots in the middle of that. surprisingly, that's looking better. Anyway. Okay, well, I think we will say that's it for tonight. Oops, that way. So that's starting to look a lot better now. Some of the shapes face shapes are a lot better now than they were before. Still think there's some shading I've got to do up here, maybe a little bit more around the nose area, and possibly some just down here. So I guess mainly this right hand side or left hand, whichever way you're looking at it, part of the face. But otherwise that's looking quite good, I think. So what I'm going to do is say check out the shop if you haven't. If you have, thank you. Pass it on to friends and family and everybody else to check out. There's details there, and I'm amazed I got that first time. And let's just give Moobot a kick so that you've got a link there as well. If you're watching and not following, then I do of course encourage you, as do most streamers, to follow them. And why not? You even get kitty cats on the stream. Not only these, but the real life black and white ones. Thank you, Aldel H. And if you just like notifications but don't want to follow, okay, you can follow me on Twitter this time and get a tweet when I go live. So it's @ZaragonArt. There's details below the stream window, and they will be on the end plate in a moment. On the other hand, if you'd just like to catch me on the next stream, which should be tomorrow night, 8 PM UK time, 1900 hours UTC, or 2 hours ago, but tomorrow. You need more practice in LDH. Do a bee or a fly with lots and lots and lots of tiny eyes. Once you can do them, the rest won't be a problem. Thank you very much, DC Devil, for that, and thank you for dropping in. Nice to see you again. So thank you everybody, have a good evening, and hopefully I'll see you in the studio tomorrow. Bye bye.